The screen efficiency calculator, developed by RHEWUM, determines the purity and yield of your screening process depending on the grain size distribution, the separation cuts, and the screen efficiency of the screening machine. This video will briefly explain the functionality of the calculator and thereby simplify the operation considerably. First of all, we would like to explain what exactly the terms purity and yield mean. Yield describes the product quantity that can be extracted from the feed quantity, so the desired end product. To calculate the yield, you have to divide the extracted amount of on-spec grains in the fractions by the entire amount of on-spec product in feed. The result shows the obtained percent of product. Whereas purity indicates the quality of the extracted product. So we want to know how many off-spec particles can be found in each fraction. In other words, how accurate was the classification? Therefore, you have to divide the amount of grains with the desired particle size by the amount of the whole fraction. Every producer aims to extract the greatest possible quantity of his product from the feed quantity without sacrificing the high level of quality. So in the ideal case, yield and purity should both be 100%. But in practice, this is not technically possible, and therefore testing is required to choose the optimal screen cut for your screening machine in order to extract a product with high yield and at the same time maintaining the required purity. You can obtain further information from Professor Dr. Engineer Daniels in our YouTube series where he vividly discussed the context. All right, now we can start. You can either choose one of the provided templates on the right side or create a new project. For our explanation, we will use an example that we have already prepared. On the right side, you can see a possible grain size distribution in the feed. You can adjust it to your individual bulk material with the plus and minus buttons or by clicking in the respective box and typing in the value with your keyboard. You can also delete individual measuring points by using the red symbol or add one here. A little tip: for a free analysis of your feed material, try the size checker feature included in our RHEWUM app. Under feed rate, enter the total quantity of the screening material which is fed to the screening machines within 1 hour. In this way, the calculation results will be more specific later. The diagram on the left shows the cumulative density. When moving the mouse along the graph, the equivalent grain diameter with the respective passage is shown. On the right, you can see the density distribution. If you move the mouse cursor over the individual areas, the respective data will be highlighted in color in the results list. In the next step, you select the separation, which is the projected mesh size of the screen lining, and enter the screening efficiency of the screening machine used. We will explain to you in a moment how to determine the screening efficiency of your screening machine. Here you also have the option to add further screen decks via the blue button or to remove them by clicking on the red symbol. The calculator automatically determines the results on the right-hand side with the corresponding quantities and percentages of the fractions. On the one hand, you can see in real time how the entire feed quantity is distributed among the individual fractions, the so-called mass flow. On the other hand, the tool shows you the quantity of the off-spec particles in the product fractions as well as the individual purities and yields. Since the exact screening efficiency of the screening machine is not known in most cases and also depends on various external factors, plus the assumed separation can deviate from the actual one, you can use the calculator at this point to determine the current efficiency and the realistic separation in retrospect. Once you have determined the quantities and grain distributions of the fractions in the laboratory, you can transfer these to the screen efficiency calculator and by adjusting the efficiency and the separation, map the correct quantity of the off-spec product in the screen efficiency calculator. Last but not least, you can now change the shift. Here the field with the title Delta X, and observe the effects of shifting the separation on the screening results. Our example shows that a shift of 0.25 millimeters in the first separation allows more than 5 tons per hour to be additionally screened in the finest fraction. The green value shows the quantity with the desired grain size, which can now be obtained additionally, while in the previous separation, it has mistakenly landed as off-spec product in the coarser fraction. The yield for the first fraction can therefore be increased, while the yield for the second fraction logically decreases. The red value indicates the additional screen value obtained that, however, does not correspond to the desired grain size, but due to the adjustment of the delta, also ends up in the finest fraction and thereby contaminates the end product. So by shifting the separation, we also accept a simultaneous reduction in purity, which decreases in the first fraction while it increases in the coarser fraction. Depending on your objectives and requirements regarding the quality of the end product, you can use our calculator to determine for yourself at any time how you can easily optimize your screening process and how you can extract more from your valuable product by making minor adjustments. If you want to record the results of the calculation, you can simply export them as a PDF document and then save them on your PC or print them out directly. Do you have any further questions? Just get in touch with us. Our screening specialists will be happy to advise you on how to optimize your screening process. On request, of course, also at your site. Please note that we cannot assume any liability for the calculated results despite the greatest care.